Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I am so excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today because in my life, this was a big opening for me. It was also when walls came crumbling down, but it was a huge opening that I swear by. If this understanding is not embodied, it is quite literally impossible to find your true north, your true path, which means you are unable to unlock all of you if you do not access this path. So this was a huge moment that I will never forget in my life. It was so impactful. It changed the course of my whole existence. So when I tell you that this is a big topic, it's a big topic. So I'm going to do my best at giving you some information and not go too into all of it because we could do an entire course on this. But I want you to understand the concept of all of this and also to start planting those seeds. This podcast is to start planting the seeds because when the seeds start getting planted, your entire body will start waking up and start aligning subconsciously and consciously. So let's dive into today's topic. We are going to talk all about the influence of what is happening in your life on a day-to-day basis. Now, a lot of the topics we talked about prior to this are tools on how to remove this out of your existence. But until you acknowledge that it's happening, it is quite literally impossible to have it go away. And that was the big aha click for me, was I was in a state of not acknowledging that this was a thing. And that's what kept me so trapped in it. So again, the planting of the seed is to start helping you acknowledge that this is going on. And I know for me, for so long, I did not want to acknowledge that this was happening because I had this false sense of the world of everything is roses and butterflies. And even though I was like miserable, I just thought there can't be the darkness that exists because I could never do that. And that is a big reason why a lot of people won't accept that there is truth to what we're going to talk about because they couldn't fathom doing it themselves. So they can't fathom that it exists. And until we acknowledge that it exists, again, it will influence your life. It will take over. When we are stepping into our power, a big part of it is we have to acknowledge that things are happening so we can control it. If we are not acknowledging it, we can't be in our power with it, which means it controls us. And with this whole episode today, it's about the influences that affect you on a daily basis. And I mean every second of the day. It is influencing you and it is changing your path and your thought processes and what you're going towards. Hopefully this doesn't blow up your entire life and everything that you're doing, or hopefully it does. But like I said, for me, it was a big, it was a big crash of my system of going, oh my God, I didn't realize how off path I was and what I was being influenced by. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about, and I mentioned it in the last episode, I talked about the frequency, the rate in which energy vibrates at. That is connected to source, the energy in which we all come from. But I did mention the absence of light, that zero frequency, which means it does not vibrate. It does not have a connection to light. It is dark. This aspect of this whole realm does exist, right? Law of balance, with the most amount of light, we have the most amount of dark. There is a high level of dark being played out on a daily basis. And it's so important to understand how that influences you from a small scale to a massive scale so that you can have zero influence from it and be the power that takes over it. Because technically, absence of light has zero power unless you feed it, unless you give it the light that it needs to grow. So part of acknowledging that it exists so that you can detach from it so it doesn't have power over you and you can get on course, knowing that it needs you to plug into. So, and it's a whole topic of the absence of light, but what I really want to start planting the seed today is that your life right now, most likely, like about 90% of it, is being controlled by a programmed version of yourself. For example, when I was younger, I was in lack of feeling special. So for many, many years, I went towards things that I thought would make me feel special. I was in a lack, so I needed a fill. And so I went towards wanting to be an actress and wanting to be seen in that way, not realizing that that was literally not what I was meant to do. Now, Source and our higher selves are brilliant. So it does play that nice, like, you get good out of bad. My soul did pull things that I would need as of like right now, right? I'm not as afraid of a camera as maybe I would be if I didn't do that. But it was not my soul path. It's the longer way of getting there. And if I stuck to that path, I would still be very lost and not on my true path. And so most of my existence back then was trying to fill a void. So our wants and our desires that we think we want actually come from a lack of something in us. Now, how does this tie into the absence of light? The lack that we feel comes from a belief that we took on. I took on at a very young age that I didn't feel special. I was not born that way. None of us are born with these lacks. At a certain age, we start to absorb beliefs around us. Now, no one's fault, but it is the fear and the absence of light that is consumed in our society through brainwashing, through just simple Instagram and all these things. They use psychology and how to use your brain to program certain things to get that fix. So it's happening everywhere. And it comes from humans feeling like if we are all in power, none of us will be in power. And that's completely false. If we were all in our power, we would all thrive. But because of that fear of we can't all be in power or I'm going to not be in power, there are absence of light, brainwashing, fear-based thoughts that are pushed out into the world, and then everyone absorbs these beliefs. And then it's our job to turn our power back on and remove them. But for so many years of my life, I was technically not in control of my own brain, my own wants. My soul wants were like pushed in the back, didn't realize that's what I really wanted. I was pushed towards the filling of the holes. Most of my life, and I'm talking 99% of it at that time, I was not on my true north path, my golden timeline, because of the influential matrix that was around me. So this is the very start of knowing that there are fear-based people and entities that want to shut down your power, that want to keep you small. And it's our job to go, no, that isn't true. I'm going to heal myself. I'm going to know I'm special. Because if you're listening to this, trust me when I say this, you have something to give the world, but you cannot find it if you are going down a path of filling a void. You'll hear me say this all the time. A lot of the stuff going on in the world that you're fighting for, that you really, really want to stop happening, it's coming from feeling the pain within yourself that you don't want someone else to feel it. But I promise you, fighting for it isn't going to fix the problem. It's going to be filling the void. It's always going to go back to, I feel a lack of something that I need to heal. If I heal it and balance it back out and go back to the place where I was born into, that balanced place, then I can see truth. Then I can find what I actually desire and want on a soul level. There's a very different world when you go human wants versus soul wants. And that was a big click for me. I was going so human, and that's why I was hitting all these walls. That's why I felt so miserable. For me, why my life feels so fulfilling now. And we're going to talk about that because I really, really want you guys to have the most fulfilling life. And I mean, every aspect of your life can be so enjoyable, to your relationships becoming bigger and better, not worse as you're in a marriage. That your career just becomes more fulfilling, not burnt out, that your money and your worth gets bigger. Fulfillment in your life is when everything gets bigger and grows and you grow with it. And I have that experience now because I'm on my soul path, not my human path, but I had to break a lot of things that I thought I wanted in life. And I had to come to terms with the reason why I'm going towards this isn't because it's a soul want, it's a human fill that I'm going towards. And that takes a toll when you realize that your whole life and everything that you work towards isn't actually a soul want. But this is what a lot of people get afraid of it, of acknowledging that. They think they have to start over. It's not that at all. The minute you acknowledge this isn't where I'm supposed to go and I'm actually supposed to go this soul route, it opens up instantly. I remember when the time in my life where I was going towards some form of entertainment in that industry, and I started my other company that I started like 13, 14 years ago. And that was the start of me slowly waking up to, oh, I'm supposed to work one-on-one with people. And then it was the big moment was when I realized I was supposed to be a healer. It wasn't because I felt special in it. It was just a knowing of, oh my God, yeah, that's what I've been doing under the surface and not realizing it. And I've been trying to fill this void of feeling special. The minute I realized that that's not what I was meant to do, I could care less about the acting world and all of that. I was like, get me out. I'm out. Good riddance. And then instantly, my life opened up in the best way possible. It's actually what made me start healing that I knew I was special. Because that's the thing, you go towards the things that you think will make you feel special, like working with a certain type of person or having certain type of elements in your life, like money and all of this. You'll never fill that void because you will be chasing after something that is just a fix, not an actual healing of self, because it shouldn't be anything outside of us that gives us a feeling internally. So once I started getting on my soul path, it was this instant knowing that, oh, wow, I am special. I just was going the wrong direction. And no wonder why I was hitting wall after wall after wall. It's not that you aren't special. You might just be trying to fill the void versus healing the void and going towards your soul path. And so it's acknowledging that this energy, the fear-based thoughts and absence of light energies exist and they are controlling your entire existence. If you start to acknowledge there is a type of entity and existence that is trying to keep me off path, and I don't want to fill that. I don't want to feed that. I want to say no. I don't need this to make me feel special. I know I am. I'm going to heal that and I'm going to go my soul path. And just keep in mind that is like the start of it. The amount of this is there's so much of it in the entertainment industry, in movies and mainstream music that actually brainwashes you to keep things shut down. It's why I avoid most mainstream things because there is so much control in it. And it it killed me, honestly, because I thought it was all this amazing, beautiful thing. And I looked up to it so much that it killed me to realize that there was so much darkness in it that it was a bubble that bursted in me, and I felt very lost for a hot second because I was like, "Oh my God, if this isn't what I thought it was, what is right? What is wrong? What's up and down? What is actually source? What is actually truth?" And a lot of the tools that we've talked about, I promise you, will guide you to the truth. But acknowledging that there is an existence of energy or lack thereof that is controlling your energy, you are a powerful being. You do not want to feed the wrong element of your life. I want you to feed the right one. And that is all I want to do with helping souls, is waking you up and knowing how powerful you are. But you have to be in control of that. And I think for me, that was a big moment of realizing I was giving so much of my power away to an element and things around me that were controlling me versus me controlling it. So keep all of this in mind as you go. Ask yourself the wants and the desires you're going after. Is it to fill an emotion? Because if it is, I promise you, you're going the wrong way. And that is not the thing your soul actually wants. It's trying to tell you to heal that emotion and focus on that. Even if right now you're like, oh my God, then what am I supposed to do? Right? Like that's overwhelming. Don't worry about that. Fill the emotion, and that's what's going to open up the next path. Now, absence of light also can affect so much stuff, from just a simple headache that you have to someone having a mental break and being a murderer. That is how much absence of light can affect on the spectrum. And again, the more you acknowledge that it exists, the more you actually start to see it and detach from it and rise above it and give it no power. So it lives around us everywhere we go, from brainwashing to things on TV and on our phones, to just simply beliefs passed down from generation to generation that they took on, and from a very, very active role of the absence of light, entities and people who live in this state of fear that are actively putting things out into the world to keep you at bay. Because again, it's the fear that if we are all powerful, that person will not be powerful. And I promise you, we can all be in that state of power. And that's the coolest thing that I realized. I was just like, oh my God, I'm in my power. I started getting into that. And I was like, I just want to get everyone else, because this is so amazing. And then you start to see the different souls and everything that we are all here to give back to the world, the value that holds in each and every one of you, from clients I work with to friends that are in my life. So many people have this unique gift to give to the world, and it's in you, especially if you're listening to this. But the only way to find it is to actually acknowledge if everything you're going towards is actually a soul want. And are you being influenced by energy around you that you've implanted in the mind that now is a program that you think is true? And just keep that in mind, that our brain is the start of like our computer switchboard in a way. And each belief that we have is piloting our actions and how we view life and the choices we're making. And if we're talking 98% of those beliefs are programmed self, is not source true self, that means 98% of your life is not yours, and it's not your true path. And I know that can be a lot to take in. And I do not mean to blow your mind up right now, but I do at the same time, because I think out of a lot of the moments in my life when I realized, okay, it's an inside out world, like that was life changing for me. But it wasn't a complete break to the system. It was more so like, cool, now I have a tool. I've been doing this backwards. It was this that I think I'll never forget, is when I realized how much everything was influencing my life. And it was scary, but at the same time, it finally gave me control of making choices that aligned with me, and I felt the difference. It was such a swing, and that's where my life got fulfilling. And I think that is a big takeaway, that if this feels overwhelming, I want you to ask yourself, do you wake up every day and look at your life and think every aspect of it is amazing? Because if you don't feel that, it means you're not living your true path. Your true path, every element of it will be fulfilling. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not challenged by things. There are definitely things, especially in my life right now, I have something going on where it is challenging me in ways that are waking up my skill sets and my mastery. It's hard as hell. And if anything, my program self is going, run, go in the opposite direction. We don't want this. This is so unsafe. What are we doing? And that's actually very clear that my program self is wanting to go back to lower frequency things. My soul self is going, no, go towards this. It terrifies you. It is the right thing. And that's another thing to keep in mind. It's the terrifying things that usually are the the actual soul wants. And it might be the terrifying thing is acknowledging that what you've been doing is wrong, right? I started dancing when I was 5, and it wasn't until in my 20s when it disappeared. But it doesn't mean it's a waste. I promise you that. But if you want to skyrocket your life and move it quicker and have a more fulfilling life, that is when you start to go on your soul path and then everything becomes fulfilling. Because that thing that I'm talking about that in my life that's challenging me, fulfillment comes from challenge and overcoming it. And the cool thing is, if you go your soul path, you can't fail at it. You will always overcome it. And then that's where the fulfillment comes in. And then you just feel like you're, climbing Mount Everest every day and killing it. It's a great feeling. But if I went my human route, that's where I was hitting wall after wall after wall after wall. I wasn't conquering anything because I was trying to fill something. Fill it in here, follow soul path. That's when you start getting true fulfillment. It's also where you start getting true acceptance of self. And that's another topic we'll talk about. And some of these I'm putting into a course that will come out in the next few months. But just know that like true acceptance also comes from acknowledging what is true to my soul, even if it feels so foreign to me. Because I remember when I woke up to understanding I was supposed to be a healer. I had a mentor who's like a dear friend of mine say, like, you're supposed to be doing what I'm doing. And it felt so right, but also absolutely terrifying. I was like, what? What am I supposed to do with that? Like, how am I supposed to have a career from that? Like, what are we talking about? It jolted my system completely, but it opened it up instantly and it worked very quickly. It is this knowing that your soul path will feel a bit foreign at first, too. It feels foreign because of, depending on how much brainwashing is going on in the system, how many holes that need to be filled, it can feel like left field, like you're over here, and then all of a sudden you're like, what? Like, how does that even make any sense? And in a way, that's going to tell you, go towards that go that way, because it just acknowledges that there's just been too much of the lack in self pulling you in the wrong direction. But again, this is just to plant the seed for you to start to put power back in you and saying, I don't want to be influenced by the absence of light. I don't want to be influenced by these feelings of lack in self. I want to fill them and I want to go my soul path. But that does mean I might need to acknowledge that the things I've been going towards might not actually be what my soul wants. And there is a way, like when I test things, if I test, this is really funny. If I test, I actually haven't done this, me wanting my soul wanting to be an actress, it lands at like 8% out of 100. Like, absolutely not. I, and I laugh because do you know how many years I tried at a young age to do that? It is a bit of a shock to the system. But again, remember, there is nothing wasted. And actually, the quicker you just acknowledge it and just move on, your speed in life will speed up. Because in my life, I look back and I'm like, that was only like 6 years. And I feel like I've had literally 100 lifetimes because I'm just going at the speed of my soul. I'm going so soul want. That's what's going to open and speed up your life. So if you also feel like you're stuck and you can't move, that might be an indication that you're going towards a fill versus a soul want. So I know this is a lot. And like I said, we could get fully into the absence of light and all the entities and the humans that play a part of it and how it's pushed into mainstream media and TV and movies and music. But just start to acknowledge that it exists and you will start to pull back from things and notice what you're pulling back from, because that also will tell you where it is. I think for me, for so many years, I was not pulled towards the normal things that a lot of people were pulled towards with music and TV and movies. And I didn't realize at the time it was my intuition saying, something doesn't feel right here. So that meant I had enough knowing out of the influence to pick that up. So now that you have this little seed planted, I want you to start to notice what you pull back on and start to just acknowledge that there might be parts of you that want to be filled. And once you fill them and acknowledge, I don't want these external things to fill it because it won't. And I don't want to go towards the human wants and desires because that's just an imbalance of the system. I want to go towards my soul path. It will open up so much of your life because I really do think the more I talk to you guys about this, the more I'm realizing this was maybe one of the most pivotal moments of my life. And everything that I thought was one way was another. And just also keep in mind darkness and light. The dark side is very smart. And so things that might seem very light are not, and things that might seem dark are actually very light. So keep that in mind as you are moving through understanding the influences of the world. And maybe one day I will do a course on this fully. But I will try to share as much. Leave comments. And if there's things you want to know about this even more, leave comments and let me know because I'm happy to dive into it more. Because like I said, is once I acknowledged how much was influencing my entire system and how much that took my power away. It was once I acknowledged it all that my power turned completely on. I was able to access my value and who I truly was. And you all have that ability 100%. So don't allow something outside of you to control you. Bring the power back into your hands.